Chronic Stress Feedback Signals Part 2. Ulcers. When a person has the continued belief that he's in trouble and the stress response stays on, the digestive system slows down. Many times, however, the person continues eating. Food travels first to the stomach on its way to the intestines. Powerful stomach acids do their best to try to break down the food. Once the food makes its way to the small intestines, additional chemicals enter from the pancreas and liver to further aid digestion. Since the body is on high alert, these powerful substances may flow into the stomach and intestines in abnormal amounts. Maybe too much for what is necessary to break down food, maybe not enough. When these digestive juices are out of balance, they have a tendency to damage the lining of the stomach and small intestines. Over time, the acid continues eating away the lining of the organ walls, and an ulcer may develop. Heart disease. More people die from diseases of the heart and circulatory system than any other cause. Recent reports indicate that approximately 600,000 people die each year from heart disease just in the United States. When you think of the risk factors for heart disease, those that immediately come to mind include being a smoker, high-fat diets, being overweight, high cholesterol, and high blood pressure. Interestingly, less than 50% of heart attack victims have these classic risk factors. How, then, can we account for the rest of those who die from heart attacks? Let's look at what happens to the heart and blood vessels during the stress response. When a person is in the fight-or-flight response, several things occur in the blood vessels on the heart and to the heart itself that can be quite damaging. One immediate effect is that the blood vessels tend to constrict. Therefore, less blood is able to flow through them. This constriction and other features of the stress response increases blood pressure. If you need to run from the big bear, blood pressure naturally rises in order to provide more energy and oxygen to the running and fighting muscles. However, chronically high blood pressure tends to weaken and damage the walls of the blood vessels. Blood also tends to clot more easily. This happens because our body is preparing for possible injury. When you're running from the big bear and you cut yourself on the thorn of a rose bush, you don't want to bleed to death. This is a good thing. However, when we have increased clotting in our blood, especially flowing through the blood vessels that surround the heart or those that run through the brain, there's an increased risk of a clot lodging in the wall of an artery. If a clot is too big or the blood vessel's diameter is too small, and if we add to that an increase in blood pressure, it causes damage to the arteries, and we're setting ourselves up perfectly for a heart attack or a stroke. Anytime there is damage to the walls of the blood vessels, the body tries to heal itself. A clot forms in the damaged blood vessel, just like when you skin your knee or cut your finger. In time, scarring may take place. The damaged area tends to be sticky, which allows plaque to build up there. Over time, the growth of the plaque, known as atherosclerosis, narrows the blood vessel. As a blood clot gets bigger, it may narrow an artery, or it may get carried through the bloodstream and lodge itself in an already narrowed artery. This closes off all future blood flow through that vessel. Essentially, anything downstream dies. If this blood vessel happens to be feeding the heart, the result is a heart attack. If it's feeding the brain, the result is a stroke. High resting heart rate. There's a definite relationship between perceived stress levels and higher than normal heart rates. During the stress response, the heart tends to beat much faster. This occurs to help get much needed oxygen and nutrients to the heart and other fighting and running muscles as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, most of the time that we feel stressed, we're not doing anything physically active. So the heart is working much harder than is necessary. It's like leaving your car parked in the driveway while revving its engine all day long. Fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is a condition characterized by widespread pain in the muscles, accompanied by fatigue, sleep, memory, and mood problems. 30 years ago, not many people had heard of fibromyalgia. One student of mine suffered with fibromyalgia so intensely that at times she could not put on her clothes because her muscles hurt so badly all over her body. Interestingly, as soon as she learned how to meditate, which you will learn later on, her pain reduced and she started to feel better. Fibromyalgia is a lot like chronic fatigue. You can't really pinpoint the problem. Heart rate's fine, blood pressure's fine. All the tests indicate there's no problem. I've worked with people who have had doctors tell them you're making it up. It's all in your head. But it's not in your head. How might fibromyalgia be associated with chronic stress? Think about what's going on again in the muscles. If you're in the fight or flight response or the stress response, what's one thing that happens to your muscles? They are seriously contracting. After prolonged periods of contraction, your muscles just say, "Bag it." This is too much tension, and I'm going to let you know by creating pain. Other diseases, illnesses, and conditions. We can say with confidence that nearly every chronic disease or condition has a stress component. Stress isn't necessarily the primary cause of the condition, but stress definitely makes most conditions worse because of the imbalances it creates. Research has shown that stress is a known culprit in all of the following chronic diseases and ailments. Look through this list of conditions or health problems. Each one of them is known to have a stress component. When we stay stressed, the body shows us the effects of this imbalance. Are there any conditions that you or someone you know has experienced? Consider this. We can explain how each of these health problems is stress-related by remembering the single purpose of the fight or flight response and what it's designed to do: escape from or fight the big bear. Our bodies simply aren't designed to be in the escape and survival mode for extended periods of time. When we live our lives with the continued message that we are in trouble, severe and long-lasting imbalances occur. The good news is we can do something about it. The object and design of these videos, their corresponding workbooks, and my other stress managing tools, which you'll learn about later on, is to bring you back into equilibrium. More than anything, I want to help you restore and keep yourself in a positive and holistic state of dynamic balance. Once in balance, the body tends to activate all of its healing energies. Essentially, it opens the doors of your inner pharmacy and allows the production of the right chemicals, hormones, enzymes, and other physiological reactions in the right doses, at the right places, and at the right times to produce healing. But you have to be in balance. As you can now plainly see, chronic stress is a very unbalanced state. Now that you better understand the feedback your body may be giving you, be sure to watch the next video to see how your perceptions activate the stress response.